Is it okay to break up with someone over their politics? I 26F started seeing this guy 27 male last fall. Things have been good overall, but recently I feel like I'm getting to know him more deeply, and political opinions obviously come up. Both of us come from fairly different backgrounds, conservative South versus more liberal North, so it's something I've tried to avoid. He has some opinions and beliefs that are starkly opposed to mine, an example being the other day when he casually referred to someone as a tranny, and when I told him that was a rude word, he got upset, complaining about political correctness and the like. There was also more than one time where he got into an argument with me about BLM despite my repeated attempts to diffuse the conversation. Other than these sort of topics, he treats me well. However, I am looking for a long-term partner and I don't know if these are things I would want taught to any future children. Is it okay to end a relationship over something like this? Am I being intolerant? How would you even go about explaining this to the other person? You may break up with someone for any reason at all. If you don't have agreement on life goals and how to interact with others, then you will likely struggle to stay content in the relationship. What you are talking about is less about politics and more about values. How you treat others, including the language you use, is part of your value system. It's very important for people's values to align in a long-term relationship. It has to do with what you think is important and about your character in general. You explain it by saying you have different values and different priorities. You are not being intolerant. No one needs to be tolerant of bigotry or racism ever. These things you've described really aren't about politics, they're about values. Break up with a guy because he believes in less infrastructure spending than you do? Maybe silly. Break up with him because he believes other people are less human than he is and racism is a hoax to keep the white man down? Good fucking riddance. Politics is an expression of how we view living in the world. So yes, incompatible politics is a perfectly valid reason to break up. Some people can make it work, but the minimum bar for the necessary levels of respect and communication are notably higher. I'm a Southern Republican, but if I know a word is offensive to a marginalized group, I'm not going to say it. I might need to be educated on that sort of thing, but will be appropriately mortified I've been hurting people with my words unknowingly. The problem isn't his politics. The problem is he's being a dick. So yes, it's completely valid to break up with someone over politics. Keep in mind though, you don't need a reason to break up with someone. You don't owe them a relationship, so just be honest and kind but move on when you need to. Honey, you can drop anyone at any time. You don't need a reason. If you're not happy and this can't be worked out, then move on. Y'all aren't compatible. One thing I've seen happening a lot in the last few years are people with different political beliefs to their partners waking up and realizing that suddenly their slightly conservative, old-fashioned, religious partner has gone full Q conspiracy on them. It isn't worth it. You aren't compatible, especially if he has a tantrum over something as simple as "don't say TRNNY." It's okay to break up for any reason you can think of. That being said, politics are more than just what people talk about in big buildings. It affects people's lives directly. Othering trannies is what makes trans people lose rights because they're not seen as real PPL. BLM is about black people being killed in the streets for very minor offenses. Politics are about core values. Basic respect and being bigoted aren't politics, it is being an asshole. Am I being intolerant? Absolutely. You're being intolerant of transphobia and racism. People like him don't deserve to be in your presence, and it already sounds like he's trying to corner you into arguments as an excuse to inflate his ego and confirm his bigoted values. Run. I got to the word TRNNY and stopped. Dump him. Stop avoiding these conversations with people you hope to have a relationship with because it's not politics and it definitely matters. A person's views on politics are representative of their morals. It's a perfectly valid reason for ending something with someone. I wouldn't be able to date someone with drastically different political opinions than me either. If their politics justify, espouse and encourage hating on other races, genders, religions, it's absolutely justified. Know who gets their shorts in a wad when their just politics affect their relationships and how people look at them? The people who hate on other races, genders, religions, etc. They want everyone to accept and normalize their hate. Fuck that. Being a racist transphobe isn't politics, no matter how loud the conservatives screech that it is. It's called being a terrible person. Am I being intolerant? No. Google paradox of intolerance. Yes. It is entirely okay. If you are concerned that it would impact your long-term future with him, it's better to end things now rather than wait until it becomes a bigger issue. If you don't want to specifically tell him it's his values that are turning you away, just tell him you don't see a future with him and that you feel like you want different things. I think it's okay just to tell him you don't feel that you two are compatible long-term. That's the truth. Am I being intolerant? No, you're dating a bigot piece of trash. This isn't politics, this is just a dude being a hateful asshole. One of the worst things of our society is conflating politics with morality. What people call politics isn't usually things like policy and spending, but more about whether certain groups of people deserve to have human rights or not. Your differences are fundamentally moral, not political, and it's perfectly okay to break up over that. Am I being intolerant? Being tolerant of intolerance is BS. You're doing the eighth thing. It's not really about politics, it's about values and morals, and hell yeah, you can break up over it. If I was dating someone who used the word tranny, I would be out. First of all, if you had children, who's to say one of them is gay, or transsexuals? I mean, it can happen, what would he do then? I would tell him we obviously have different values and morals and they are not someone you want to raise children with. Honestly, I would just tell him I do not see us working out and best of luck and peace out. If you gave this person the real reason, I think they would just end up arguing with you, and why waste your time? Yes, it is, and you should. You can't thought police him. He can think what he wants and so can you. This isn't court. You don't have to have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to break up with someone. Their crappy values are a good reason. Adios, dude. Yes, it is 100% okay. I'm a conservative who has dated both sides of the political spectrum. I had no problems dating someone with different views. Having a healthy, constructive conversation over political views can be very rewarding and beneficial for both. You can disagree on things and still be a decent, respectful human being. And I think that is what your problem is here. Unfortunately, your partner seems hateful. I had to break up with an ex-girlfriend who was a radical liberal. Not because of her views, but because of her inability to accept people have different views. She would become abusive and eventually violent, so I broke up with her. Dating people who lean left, right, up, or down shouldn't matter. How your partner treats you and other people is what really matters. I think this gets chalked up to irreconcilable differences. Political beliefs are the new religion. It's important to be on the same page about them, because otherwise you're in for a lot of strife. Why are you worried about being intolerant of his intolerance? He's intolerant of things that people can't change about who they are. I don't know any trans people who didn't struggle to come to the realization of their gender identity, or any black folks who would choose to be targets of policy violence. He can change his behavior to be kind to people. Not tolerating intolerance doesn't make you yourself intolerant. If you respect other people's experiences and beliefs, you won't respect the idea that other people can be judgmental and intolerant of them. It's an odd paradox, but it's true. I couldn't be with someone who casually disrespected people that are different from him based on things they cannot control. There is a short answer and a long answer and to whether or not it is okay to break up with someone because of their politics. Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes. You can end a relationship because you don't like the fact that the other person keeps wearing mismatched socks, or because some random person on the street told you that they could see the future and big changes were coming in your life, or for any other reason you like. And compared to those or hundreds if not thousands of other seemingly trivial examples, I would be horrified to hear the things he says coming out of my future kids' mouths is a reason that most external observers would accept as valid, so I'm really not sure why you're struggling so much with just pulling the trigger. Tell him that it's not working out, or you're not compatible, or just that you're done, and go. There's a difference between having conservative political views and actively choosing to behave in ways that hurt others. He wants to call people a slur and he believes his right to call them a hurtful slur matters more than how that makes them feel. That's not a political view, that's an "I don't care how anyone but me feels" view. So I mean, yes, you can dump someone if you really don't agree with their politics, but also this isn't about his politics, it's about his poor character. It is certainly okay to end a relationship over politics. Because it isn't just politics, it's your beliefs, your morals, etc. This isn't a difference of politics. This is a difference of morals. And it sounds like you are on two different levels. Ask yourself this. Did you come into the relationship for politics or for who he is? Not everything is about politics. I never understood how Americans always say they avoid politics or don't talk about it. That's such a weird thing. Your political views are a reflection of who you are. To think that you can disassociate a person from their beliefs is crazy. Your partner's politics are also a reflection of how he views and treats other human beings. Him having shitty politics is going to translate into him being a shitty person. There is no escaping. It. At this point you might feel safe because his politics aren't targeting groups that you belong to and that you can keep diffusing these conversations, but you are only prolonging the inevitable. Breaking up with someone over their politics should be normalized. You're not being intolerant. It's called the paradox of tolerance. Also, politics these days aren't about the difference between how we should spend our tax money. As you can see, one side of the spectrum is riddled with racism, intolerance. Tranny is a slur, and calling him out on it is not political correctness. There was a thread here like a week ago where a woman found out her husband had secretly joined the Proud Boys. She knew he was conservative but had always avoided political conversations to keep the peace. Do not make this mistake. As other commenters have said, a person's politics reflect their values. Better to know now that you don't have the same values than to try to sweep that back under the rug later when it becomes unavoidable. I feel like in general right-wing people have their views but do not impose them on others. Left-wing will get offended if you disagree, like they are somehow superior and know the truth. So I can see the left side never being happy if in a relationship with the opposite view. Politics are values. It is very okay. If there is something that inherently bothers you about your partner and it's something you can't get over, then yeah, it's fine. Like others have said, you can break up for any reason. You don't even need a reason. But him dehumanizing people and being aggressive even just verbally when you express a difference of opinion isn't just a red flag. It's a whole ass stop sign. Not only can you should. Think of your future. You won't be happy with someone long term if he's already eroding your happiness today. You can break up with people for any reason. And belonging to the party of homophobes, transphobes, racists and classists is a damn good one. He's even shown transphobic and racist tendencies already. Don't just leave. Run. Other than these sorts of topics, he treats me well. Okay, but these sorts of topics are about trusting other people well. I agree with many other comments that this is about values, but unless you're willing to walk the walk, I'm not sure yours differ from his in any meaningful way. You don't need a reason to break up with somebody, but having different political views is a good reason if you only date people that have long-term possibilities. But to go out and have fun, it may not come up that often to worry about. I have several friends that are way different than me, and I have had some good times with a few women that I wouldn't even think about marrying. Thankfully, most of them were really good sports. You don't need any justified reason to break up with somebody, just with you wanting to end the relationship it's enough. Besides that, if he is not so extreme, you can try to talk thing and reach a middle ground. But seriously, don't stay in a relationship where you don't picture a good future just because breaking up can be intolerant. That's a nonsense. Question: in a long-term, maybe even life partner, do you think it's reasonable to avoid topics? Is the person you dream of a person you can't talk about everything with? Feel free to leave. It's gonna cause frustration and resentment in the long run. Once you're out of the honeymoon stage, you two aren't gonna always be on your best behavior and have a lower tolerance for each other's political disputes. 1. You can break up for any reason. 2. Politics equals worldview and how you treat other people. 3. Being over-tolerant is why the US is in the mess it's in. You are not obligated by any stretch of the imagination to tolerate his views. 4. Never avoid discussing politics with friends and potential partners. That's how you end up with crappy people in your life and indirectly harm those in your life whose lives are just seen as political correctness to said crappy person. I've thought about it long and hard. You and I are just not compatible. If you wanna be nice, but also this opens things for debate. If you wanna just cut bait and go, your politics suck and I can't make a life and a family with someone like you. There's politics, which are okay to differ in a relationship. You guys aren't differing in what economic policies benefit your country the most or the limitation of government. You two are differing in the belief that other people have the right to exist based on something about themselves they cannot change. You can break up with someone for any reason, it's your life and you deserve to control who's in it. But if ever there were a reason to break up with someone, this is absolutely it. For your safety, though, I would do it somewhere in public or over the phone. Please, take care of yourself. You should never stay with someone who belittles others. Why? Because invariably, eventually, he will belittle you. And that hurts more with each passing day.